What's going on, guys? Aero here, and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I want to talk to you guys more about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, but also how the game may have been made with Xenoblade 2 in mind, and how Xenoblade 2 could have been potentially held back by Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, of course, this is just a discussion video where I'm going to be sharing my thoughts with you guys and kind of letting you guys know how I feel about this. None of this is like confirmed to be true or 100% fact, but just something that I've kind of been thinking about, and I've wanted to share it with you guys and kind of tell you guys how I feel about it, and maybe some of you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from. Maybe some of you guys might feel the same way as well, but either way, I think it would just be something fun to kind of talk about. Now real quick before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that I'm actually replaying all of the Xenoblade games in preparation for Xenoblade 3 over on my Twitch, and we're just about to finish Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and are going to be starting Xenoblade 2 very soon, and then after that we've got Torna and Future Connected, so we're going to be trying to finish all of that within the next couple of weeks so that we can jump right into Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So if you guys do want to be a part of that and watch that with us and kind of talk about Xenoblade 2 and the other games and even speculate stuff about Xenoblade 3, those streams are a lot of fun and they're pretty chill, so if you want to stop by and hang out with us, definitely consider following my Twitch down below in the description. It's twitch.tv/actualaero, and I hope to see you there. Now, like me, I'm sure Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a very special game for many of you guys as well. For me, it was my introduction into the Xenoblade series. I remember everybody voted on Twitter for me to get that game, and as soon as I started playing it, I kind of just fell in love with it, with the lovable characters, the action-packed cutscenes, the amazing world design, the phenomenal music. I just really got to see how amazing Xenoblade games were from that game. And then right after that, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition was just around the corner, so I got to play that game as well. So I'm really happy that Xenoblade 2 was what got me into the franchise, and it was an amazing game. Now the game came out in 2017, but I played it in 2019, so by that time most of the Xenoblade 2 fans had already played the game, so I joined the party a little late, but it was really after playing that game and becoming a big Xenoblade fan that I spent a lot of time kind of just reading about Xenoblade and becoming a big fan to kind of just understand everything about this game. And one of the things that I really kind of learned about it was just kind of how the development of Xenoblade 2 went, and there was just a lot of crazy things around it because of course I wasn't around for the hype period when you guys were getting super excited for Xenoblade 2 to come out, as I got into the game a few years later. But it's really from researching about this game and the development from monolithsoft where you start to realize how crazy it is that a game like this is this amazing and still loved by millions of people, despite there being so many things potentially internally that were still holding this game back from being even more insane. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was developed in about 3 years. According to an interview from Takahashi, they started development of the game around July of 2014, and of course the game came out in December of 2017, but if you think about everything, Xenoblade Chronicles X also did come out in December of 2015, so they really did start working on Xenoblade Chronicles 2 alongside finishing up the development of Xenoblade Chronicles X. And another big challenge that the development of Xenoblade 2 had was of course being developed for the Nintendo Switch. Now, around 2015 and 2016, when Xenoblade 2 is in development, Nintendo is still working on the Nintendo Switch, and we don't really have the exact consumer versions of the Nintendo Switch that we have right now, as they're still working on it and putting together the finalizing touches and all of that. So at the moment, they basically just have to give developers these dev kits, which kind of give them like a basic idea of what the system's performance is going to be and how things are going to be able to run on it, and developers pretty much just have to work with that. So of course, developing Xenoblade 2 for a system that you don't even know exactly what it's going to be like yet is definitely a big challenge for a lot of developers. On top of all of this, it was even said in a Time magazine interview that both at Nintendo and monolithsoft there was pressure to make sure that there was a big role-playing RPG game like this on the Nintendo Switch in 2017, as of course 2017 was a very important year for Nintendo. With the Switch coming out in 2017, it was very important for Nintendo to make sure that there were so many different types of games available in that year for all types of players so that people are interested in buying a Nintendo Switch. Of course, that's why that year is still considered to be one of the best Nintendo Switch years of all time. If you like action-adventure games, you've got Zelda Breath of the Wild. If you like racing games, you've got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. If you like fighting games, you've got ARMS. If you like shooters, you've got Splatoon 2. If you like platformers, there's Super Mario Odyssey. And of course, if you like big RPG games, there's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And of course, because of that, I'm sure there was a lot of pressure to make sure that the game could still come out in 2017, as I remember when Xenoblade 2 was even revealed, despite not being a fan of it, I remember there were so many people that were just saying like, oh, this game is definitely getting delayed, it's not coming out this year, like you're not going to see this till 2018, so a lot of people were very surprised at E3 when it was announced that Xenoblade 2 would still be coming out in December of 2017. And I'm sure it's because of all of this that the development for Xenoblade 2 was pretty difficult for everyone at monolithsoft. And even looking more into it here, of course I played Xenoblade 2 in 2019, so there were already a lot of updates and kind of quality of life changes that were added. But reading more into it here, it looks like when Xenoblade 2 did originally release on version 1.0 in 2017, there were a couple of things in here that weren't really available until quality of life updates were made after. There was no new game plus, there was blade animations that you had to watch for every single blade that you opened from a core crystal. You couldn't like skip the animation, no way to watch tutorials again or anything like that. So it definitely did seem like that there were still a little bit of bumps even after release. And of course the biggest thing that I didn't even talk about yet is that half of Monolith's team wasn't even there. If you guys didn't know, around this time there were about 100 or so monolithsoft employees, and around 50 to 60 of them actually left to go help with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And so because of that, monolithsoft's team was down to only about 40 or so people. Only 3 of them were actual programmers to help with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it's because of that they had to outsource to a lot of other artists and other developers to make sure that the game could still come out in 2017. So it's really kind of just crazy thinking that a game like Xenoblade 2, which is already loved and so amazing, was a game that was made when monolithsoft wasn't even at their full power. Now the reason why I'm talking about all of this is because it's making me really excited for Xenoblade 3. Since Xenoblade 2, monolithsoft has done a lot of recruitments and has also grown their team pretty significantly. And that means even if some people from monolithsoft went to go help with like Breath of the Wild 2, there's still going to be a good amount of people remaining to have worked on Xenoblade 3. And of course, with Xenoblade 3 coming out many years after monolithsoft has developed for the Nintendo Switch, they've really mastered exactly how the system works now, and that's why this game is really going to take it to its full potential. Now the last thing that I want to talk about real quick is actually about the story. Now personally, I thought Xenoblade 2's story was pretty good. I even made a video talking about why it's one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch, but I know that there were some people out there, some other Xenoblade fans, who didn't really like the story of Xenoblade 2 all that much. Now, I have a couple friends like this as well who I've talked to who've told me like, Aero, I love Xenoblade 1, it's one of my favorite games, I love the story and everything about it, but I tried playing Xenoblade 2 and I just couldn't really get into it, the story didn't really captivate me all that much, I just really didn't find myself enjoying it as much as I did with Xenoblade 1. Now you're probably thinking, why am I telling you about this? But the reason that I want to talk about it is actually because of the way that Xenoblade 2 was developed and something very interesting that was said by Takahashi about Xenoblade 3. Now when Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was originally made, it was a pretty conclusive game because there was no intentions of a sequel or a Xenoblade 2 happening one day, and it was just made to be its own self-contained game. In fact, the game wasn't even supposed to come to North America. However, it was really from the Operation Rainfall movement and the fan outcries that finally got Nintendo to bring Xenoblade over to North America and the other parts of the world, where it became a very loved game that a lot of people enjoyed, and it's because of that that Nintendo decided that we should have a Xenoblade 2 available on the Nintendo Switch in its launch year to get people even more excited. Now the reason why I'm talking about this is because we actually learned more about Xenoblade 2's development from the message from Mr. Takahashi when Xenoblade 3 was revealed earlier this year. So if we take a look at the second paragraph in his message on the Nintendo website, it says here, the key visual features a broken great sword of Mechonis and the body of the Urian Titan with a gaping wound. I imagine everyone who saw the trailer was quite surprised by the final scene. What is this visual hinting at? I can't reveal that just yet. What I can tell you is that this visual was conceived quite some time ago. More precisely speaking, we came up with it sometime between the end of development for Xenoblade Chronicles and the beginning of development for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so it's not something we recently added to the series. And so the reason why this is so important is because it basically confirms now that Xenoblade 2 was already being developed with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 in mind. Like Takahashi was playing such 6D chess here that he basically already knew what he wanted to do in Xenoblade 3, so he was making Xenoblade 2 based around what he already wanted to do in the future like half a decade later. And it's really because of this that I'm starting to see Xenoblade 2 as more of a setup game for Xenoblade 3, and I feel like Xenoblade 3, after we play that game and we go back to Xenoblade 2 and play that again, we're really going to see exactly why everything kind of happens the way it does, because it was all leading up to exactly what's going to happen in Xenoblade 3. Like, it's just so crazy to me now that this game, the entirety of Xenoblade 2 was developed with Xenoblade 3 already in mind and kind of knowing exactly what they were going to do, and it's because of that that I feel like Xenoblade 2 might have already even been held back even in terms of story with that, because they probably didn't want to do all of the insane kind of crazy things that they were already planning for Xenoblade 3, but they wanted to kind of set it all up inside of Xenoblade 2 so they can finally blow our minds inside of Xenoblade 3. Like even the fact that the Orion Titan is on the box art of Xenoblade 2 just for the sole reason that the Xenoblade 3 box art is going to show the Mechonis sword and the Orion Titan clashing together. Like it's just insane to me, because Xenoblade 2, like if we're talking about the importance of Titans, the Orion Titan really isn't like insanely important to the plot. If anything, the Leftherian Titan would make the most sense to be on the box art of Xenoblade 2. The Leftherian Titan is of course where Rex is from, it's where Adam is from, it's even where the Numa sword was hidden. Like it makes the most sense to have that be like kind of the big Titan that you see on the box art for the importance that it has to the story. But the Orion Titan doesn't have like a lot of crazy stuff that even happens with it, but the only reason why Takahashi even put it on the box art is because he knew he was going to do this with it inside of Xenoblade 3. It's just crazy to me, man. It just makes me so excited now for the future of Xenoblade and kind of exactly what's going to happen next. And so that's why, in my opinion, if you're one of those people who didn't like Xenoblade 2's story all that much, I feel like this kind of really clears up everything now, is that the whole point of that story was really kind of just to set up everything, because we know now that that whole story was made with Xenoblade 3 in mind. If anyone's a Marvel fan, the best way for me to describe this is that Xenoblade 2 is like Thor Ragnarok, where they're both amazing, but they're both being used to set up the insane thing that comes right after, where of course for Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War is right after, which is just mind-blowing and insane, and just like how Xenoblade 2 is going to lead us into Xenoblade 3. So if there's anything to take away from this video, is to just be really excited for Xenoblade 3, because it's really looking like this is finally going to be a Xenoblade game where nothing is holding back monolithsoft, and they're really going to go all out to try to make this be the best possible game that it can be. Just the fact that they started development of Xenoblade 2 in July of 2014, but Takahashi already knew exactly what he kind of wanted to do for Xenoblade 3, basically means that Xenoblade 3's kind of plot and premise has been cooking in his head for almost a decade, and that just makes me so excited, man. I can't wait to see what he's got in store. And so yeah, there you go guys, those are all of my thoughts on the development of Xenoblade 2, and how it's potentially just being used to be a big setup for the craziness that's going to happen inside of Xenoblade 3. If you guys enjoyed this video, then definitely be sure to click that like button, and also comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. How are you guys feeling now about Xenoblade 2's story and the development of the game? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. If you're new to this channel, then please be sure to subscribe. I'm definitely going to have some more Xenoblade content in the future, so definitely be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Click on that bell to become a part of the notification squad. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.